Okay, we'll get started on the next session. So our first speaker this session is Silvia Pfeiffer, who's going to talk about browsers and HTML5 video accessibility. Following on from that, I'll give a talk about TT Trigger, which is a little sound effects triggering thing that I've been working on. And then we'll be closing out the session with getting started with a podcast from Cherie. So I'll hand over to Silvia. Thanks.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. Is this working? Okay. I thought I'm not going to make any slides today because it's after lunch. You're probably all going to go asleep. So I'm just going to throw a few videos at you. And because we're talking about video accessibility, the videos don't just come as videos. We actually have captions and stuff on them. So we'll look at that. We'll look at the source code and learn a little bit that way. So I'm starting with this video. You might have seen some of these videos before. They're all my example videos, my test videos and so on. So if you've seen them before, hopefully you won't get bored. But the big thing about today is that it's all done in the browser. Everything I'm showing you is done in the browser. There's no JavaScript plugins, there's no shims, no polyfills, nothing. It's all done in the browser. So that's what I want to share with you today. What's the current state of the technology in the browsers as implemented today? While I'm working only on the Mac here, yes, I admit it, I'm a Mac user, it works the same for those browsers that are on other platforms, so Chrome in particular, which I'm using here. What I show you here is Chrome nightly, so what's it called? Canary on the Mac, and on Linux, it's the same as the dev version. So if you go to the dev version, you'll get exactly the same experience on Linux that I'm getting here. So we'll start with this video here. Let's inspect it before we go away. I don't want to sync. Let's inspect it before we do anything else. What we have in here, I'm not sure if you can see that. It's just this video element here. Is it visible, or should I make it a bit larger? Make it a little larger. You go now. How do I get rid of this again? Okay, so here's the video element for this video here. I've made it a little bit more accessible to screen readers by putting an ARIA label on it, so that when somebody taps on that video, it actually says something in the screen reader. It says Chocolate Rain Video, which is the same as I get when I just mouse onto the video. That's the title coming through, the title saying Chocolate Rain Video. So I've put it in both the title and the ARIA label. I've put a poster on it and an ID, but that doesn't really matter. So what's important here is, and this is something I'm going to focus my talk today on, is the captions. Here we see the chocolaterain.vtt, so that's a VTT file. It's of kind subtitles, and I call it English lyrics. It's a source lang, oops, there's a little bug, of English. And when you look at the file, it almost looks like an SRT file. This doesn't have much in it other than timestamps and text. So what does that end up being? Right, fail. Try again. Maybe we get it out of speakers now. Nice, huh? Works in full screen. Yay! And I can turn it on and off. There's a CC button in Chrome now in the video controls. If you have as I have here, a video element with the track, and it's called default. It has to have the default on it in order to be on by default. Just like I just press play and it worked, it'll just play with that default track on. You can have many tracks in there, and you can also have some JavaScript knowledge about what language your browser is working in and move the default track onto the correct one with the language and so on. In the end, we want the default choice being made by the browser if we can, but right now that's not done yet. But it works, it displays it, it does it really nicely. We're really happy about that. You might have noticed as I was playing this. Yes, we're having playback issues. I don't even know why it didn't have that happen to me this morning. But I have a minute when there's some text coming up on the screen here on the video. See here? We've got some text on the video, and the captions are overlaid on top of the text. So that's not good caption authoring. This is where we don't want the caption file to just place the captions in the default position, which is what it's doing right now. Default position is bottom center of the video. So we want to move that away. And the other thing is, well, we're looking at a video of music here, right? So it's lyrics, and normally when we watch music videos, we have them in karaoke style. So that's another thing that we'd like to see. And the cool thing is, we've got that implemented in Chrome and in Safari, and you can watch that on this second video here. See how it's grayed out? How cool is that? And now watch it, the text is at the bottom, the thing moves up to the top. Yeah, that's because I didn't bother authoring all the way through. I'll show you the video in a minute, the caption file in a minute. You can implement that. It's not in the browser, but you can implement it. So let's look at this file. What's it look like? First, the caption, the karaoke style stuff. We have to put timestamps into the text because it needs to know when it is to display that. So we've got these timestamps in here. Here, for example, that's the whole sentence. Some stay dry and blah, blah, blah. You don't see much of the text anymore. You see a lot of timestamps. But the timestamps look exactly the same as the timestamps, the start and end timestamps on the cues. So it's quite easy to learn how to do that. And all you need to do is put those timestamps in at the moment where you want the next text to appear. So that's basically representing now. This is the past, and this is the future. And everything in the past gets displayed normally, and everything in the future is grayed out. That's how we're displaying it. Now we have in here these C elements. That's a result of some debugging that I did this morning, because in recent builds of Chrome, this display was actually broken. We had it working in 25, in 26 it was broken, and it's not actually fully resolved in the standard. We have a bug that says you can't actually select these timestamps as marker for a differentiation between past and future, because they're not proper elements. They're XML processing instructions. So they're not actual HTTP elements when they get converted into HTML. So there's a problem with CSS selecting those fields, and therefore we had to put actual elements in there. Those C elements, they're actual elements. They're automatically closed when the timestamp comes. So some is in the C element and stay is in the C element, etc., etc. And so now you can select them. That's not how we want it to be in the end. That's a very crude way of doing it. In Safari, We don't actually need to do that. In Chrome, we need to do it. In Opera, they've decided not to implement it yet because the bug hasn't been resolved. So this is something that's still in Ian's court to resolve. What he suggested doing is create pseudo elements so that you can actually call these timestamps through pseudo elements, so you can actually mark them up in CSS. So there's some technical issues, but we're getting there. So right now, if you wanted it in Chrome, you mark it up this way. If you want it in Safari, you leave the C tags out. None of the other browsers have implemented this feature yet. Sorry? The C tags confuse other browsers? No. They will just ignore all of these tags. So the other thing that I did, I moved the text up to the top of the video instead of leaving it in a default rendering position. So I did that with the line Q setting. So everything behind a start and end time specification for a queue in that same line is called a queue setting. It sets this queue. It's like a styling instruction. Actually, it's more like a positioning instruction. In this case, I used line. Line is the lines from the top to the bottom of the video. Obviously, it's 100% height, so I wanted it 5% down, and that's where it placed it. It's easy as that, line colon 5%, and it placed it at the top of the video. Yes?
Is that, how is that relative to the font that you're using? Is that 5% the top of the font or the bottom of the font?
It's 5% of the video height. And I think it's the middle of the line. So if your font size gets higher, it's just like if it's very tall font, you're going to have problems. The 5% might not be enough. But it will always try to place it within the video, so it will push it down as well. There's some automatic handling in the browser for that as well. So that's these two features that I wanted to point out. Very cool, very simple to author. Just to point out what other CSS features work. We've just talked about CSS features. Yeah, I should show you why we're seeing the graying. Big enough? We see the graying, the great future and past, the karaoke style stuff, because we can mark up colon Q. We can select, that's a pseudo selector for the text within the queues. So what I've said is all future text in queues should have the color gray. And so that's why it gets displayed this way. You can also select other colors, etc. I've tried that this morning. I wasn't able to set other colors, so it must be something wrong, still a bug somewhere, but the spec says it should be possible. So expect that in the near future. But with this, what I'm trying to point out is with this colon Q pseudo selector in CSS, you can do all sorts of things to the text in the queues, not just to the karaoke queues, but to all of the queue text. So you can change the color, you can change the opacity, the visibility, text decorations, text outline, text shadow. So you can do lots of really cool things with the text that is rendered on top of the video. As you can tell right now, it's pretty boring. It's got a background color of black and the text is white. Maybe you want the text black and have the background color go away. So you can do that with that. Without having to completely re-author all the parsing of the WebVTT file and the rendering and stuff. All you need to do is a bit of CSS and it's done. That's very cool. All right, now we get to something a little bit more challenging. So we've seen one queue setting this far, which is setting the line. We have other queue settings as well, and this video is an example video that we got from a company that authors complex video captions in America. They're happy for us to share this video, obviously because their name is mentioned, blah blah blah. But it's a really nice example video to show off all the other features that we're using and that are possible in WebVTT. So I'll leave you with this because it's kind of, funny video, but.
I'm at the left of the screen, so captions of what I say appear at the left of the screen too. Now I'm at the right of the screen, so my
Turn off your cheesy filter.
Taking them off screen. Whatever I say is italicized. Now my name appears at the bottom of the screen. We put captions of what I say at the top, so that my name is not covered by captions. Up until now, we have been using pop-on captions. When a new caption pops on, the old caption disappears. This is a paint-on caption. One caption block is painted on the screen from left to right, one character at a time. Now the roll-up mode. This mode is normally used for TV news programs. Caption lines roll up from the screen bottom, one line at a time. Captions can appear in lowercase and also in Spanish. ¿Dónde está el niño? Está en la casa. And in French. Parlez-vous français? Répétez s'il vous plaît. The following special characters are also available. They include the music symbol and accented characters.
Of course, a lot more because we support full UTF-8. But this is just this example video from them, which is nice to reuse and to show that all the stuff that they've been using from 608 and 708 captions, we can do in WebVTT too. Yeah, as I said, it is a bit of cheesy video, but never mind. It proves the point, or it shows the point that we are compatible with these things. You might have noticed one thing though that's really weird, that we did really badly. Anyone remember? Sorry? The roll-up?
Well, no, just generally where the words break, they break them a little word.
Yeah, very slowly. Yeah, we could do it by character. You'd just have to put all the markup in for every single character.
No, I mean, there's no hyphenation. The words just break at random
Ah, yeah, that happens too. There's no hyphenation happening in WebVTT. It just does it whenever it doesn't have enough space anymore. That's one of the... I don't know if that's a bug. That's on purpose, because... Instead of, you know, trying to move all the words into a new line and then ending up with single words rolled down and possibly not even being able to put them in the next line, WebVT just breaks them.
You have problems when you're moving to other languages that are going to be broken in different spots. So it's probably
Yeah.
best to leave that to the editors.
Yeah, exactly. But the one thing that I wanted to point out that looks really, really awkward.
Top on, the old caption. Right, one character at a time.
So this part.
Now the roll-up mode.
Yeah.
This mode is normally used for TV news programs.
Have you ever seen roll-up being done this way?
No.
So the only place where roll-up is being done this way, roll-up, meaning multiple queues being active at the same time, is in karaoke. So WebVTT is more akin to karaoke than to, you know, TV captions. And all the TV captions people that see that, they go, no, don't do it that way. And Ian goes, I don't care. So been fighting for about a year to get roll-up mode into WebVTT. Ian is now on board, but he's sort of, you know, not really happy about it. So we'll see what happens, but we're working on it. We're trying to get roll-up captions in there and a few other CA708 features. I've got a proposal, which is a region spec, which says we're now dealing with grouping queues into a region. And when they're queued into that region, they can roll up within that region. So we'll see if that's going to be what we'll do. Maybe Ian comes up with a different spec. But roll-up is the one thing that we're doing really badly right now. Everything else, you've seen all the placement, you can select the width. I should probably show you the source file. So you can see that we have alignment, align start, align end. That was when the text was at the left, there was the text at the right. We've got size, which determines the width of the area in which we display the captions. We've got position, which determines which offset position from the left or the right we use to align the captions with. Size, position, line, as I showed you before, that's the offset from the top. And then here, that was the individual characters where you said, yeah, it came much too fast. That's because of the crappy markup we used there. But you can tell that paint on captions is turning out into a lot of markup. So that's not that easy to read in the original file. It's easy to author as a, you know, when you're doing transcoding. But reading it and authoring it by hand is painful. And that's on purpose. Ian doesn't want us to do it, so he makes the things that he doesn't want us to do, he makes them hard to do. All right, so even then, all of this is easy enough and possible and cool things to do. So we got really far along with our captions, and we can turn them on and off. So what about selecting from multiple tracks, many tracks of videos? So now I'd like to swap over to Safari in order to show you what we want to happen eventually. So this is this video, Elephant Stream, you all know it, from Orange Open Movie Project, and it's been translated into so many languages, the captions, it's not funny. I've just taken a small subpart of them and created WebVTT files, and Safari is auto rendering a menu now. They're currently putting the captions together and the subtitles together, so you can, let's say, which one? Chinese? Let's see what happens with the Chinese captions. Oh yeah, wonderful. Video doesn't scale properly. Anyone talk Chinese? Read better? And Bulgarian? Yeah, it's crappy transcoding. I wanted small files. Come on, talk again. That's Bulgarian. What else have we got? Danish. So it's pretty awesome because it does all the menu selections, and you can provide just, you know, as many tracks as you want. Unfortunately, at this point in time, WebKit Nightly is the only one that supports it. Chrome only turns the default track on or off. That doesn't really help to select other tracks, so you'd have to do that by hand, create a track menu by hand, write it in JavaScript, and select, turn the individual tracks on or off. That's my fault. I'm working on that patch, and it's gonna come in, but it's just not ready yet. It's gonna land soon. Opera doesn't even have a button, so I can show you Opera. Opera was one of the first ones to implement caption support. But Opera doesn't have a captions button. So even though they display the captions, let's jump to somewhere where there are any. So this is Opera. It displays them, but I have no way of turning them off. Or in fact, no way of turning them on if they're not on by default. So it's a little difficult to discover captions in Opera at this point in time. But they're there, they have WebVTT support. At least the rendering is done for you, which is the hardest part. I'm running out of time, am I? Okay, one last cool thing I wanted to show off. This is video descriptions. The way that video descriptions have in the past been done is with
slide presentation is titled HTML5 Video Accessibility in the WebVTT file format. March 23rd, 2011, Silvia Pfeiffer.
Blah, blah, blah. So this is... So this is the traditional way of doing audio descriptions. Audio descriptions are for people who can't see, blind people. And they need to be told everything that's happening on screen, right? So in order to get an introduction to the video, there's an extra voice being added to the video. And oftentimes there's not enough time in the normal video to put all of this information. So the video gets extended. The length of the video gets extended and the audio gets put in, a frame freezes, and the speaker talks on top of that. Now what we've implemented with WebVTT, what we've specified with WebVTT is a file format that lets you do exactly that, but you only provide a text file. And in order to show off what that will do, we've implemented a extension in Chrome, which actually does this for you. So this one here.
A multimedia slide presentation is titled HTML5 Video Accessibility in the WebVTT file format. March 23rd, 2011. Silvia Pfeiffer.
So it paused.
Auditorium, a woman speaks at a podium.
So it pauses the video, talks, and then releases it again. Pauses the video, talks, and releases it again. This is particularly interesting. I can't hear myself, just well, whatever. It's, yeah, of course, then you can't hear anything either. Okay. It worked before. Anyway, it would pause when the slide comes and explain everything that's written on the slide before it lets the speaker continue talking. So you can do that even for talks, for presentations, where there's a video, a slide that the speaker is not explaining very well, but that every person who can see will actually be able to read. And so it will explain to deaf people what's written up there. And this plugin here that I'm using, here, extension, is called HTML5 audio description via text-to-speech. So it uses a feature that Chrome has, the Chrome browser has, a text-to-speech rendering. It calls directly to the text-to-speech API, renders the text out of the WebVTT file, and pauses the video in the meantime, and then it lets go of the video again when it's done. So this is exactly what we want, except right now Chrome is the only browser that has a text-to-speech API. So it's the only one where we were able to implement a demonstration of this. But this is a bit of an outlook to what is going to come and beyond captions. So thank you very much. That was all I wanted to share with you today.